So my name is Kavita and I'm 17 and I'd say probably around, I don't know, like 13.
My name is Lauren Thebner. I'm 17 years old and I was diagnosed when I was probably about 14, but I've been dealing with it most of my whole life.
My name is Brendan. I'm 16-year-old, oh my god. And I was 11 when it started. Yeah.
Okay, well, my name is Natalie. I am 16 years old and like a month and a couple of weeks. And when I first developed my eating disorder, it's like I was diagnosed when I was when I just turned 14, but it really started around the time where I was like 12. So.
Like turn to eating disorders for like control, and like they feel like they have lack of control of their life, and I think it's given me like everything but control.
Well, I was diagnosed with anorexia, and also a mix of bulimia. So EDNOS, which is eating disorders not otherwise specified. I don't eat. No, mostly for like the anorexia part of it, I would restrict a lot of the food and like the amount that I ate and also what I ate. I had what it's considered like safe foods, and that's just like the only things that I eat. And then for the bulimia part of it, after I would sometimes go through stages where I wouldn't eat for a few days, and then I would binge eat and then just purge all of the food that I ate, either by throwing up or with laxatives.
Well, I'm diagnosed with bulimia, so that's me. They describe it as binging on food and then throwing it up, but I only binged for like 2 years, and then after that it was kind of like me not eating at all, so it was kind of like anorexia was in it too. I just didn't meet like the weight criteria for anorexia, but I just never ate, and when like there was food in me, I'd throw it up. So it's like they kind of crossed over. So when they were explaining to me in the hospital, it was like very confusing. So they said like I had like cross symptoms of anorexia and bulimia. So yeah.
Well, I was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa, and so it was like a restricting eating disorder. It was also like I wasn't diagnosed with like orthorexia, but I had like intense like exercise compulsivities, and I would restrict for an amount of time and just not nourish myself properly. So it was definitely a restrictive eating disorder, and with over-exercise involved in that too. So.
No, it was actually my school guidance counselor like prompted my parents, and my parents were already like kind of on top of it, and then yeah.
Actually, at first, when I was in 8th grade and things started getting pretty bad, my teacher pointed out that things were a little unusual, and then she discussed it with my mom, and I knew that what I was doing wasn't exactly normal, but I didn't think that I had a problem.
I was going through like a lot over the past 7 years when this whole thing started, so I knew I had to stop. I thought that, alright, I'll lose the weight that I want to lose, and then that's the end of this. Like, I'm going to put it away, that's the end of it. And it like continued, and I saw myself getting into other habits, and it was becoming very dangerous for me, and I knew I needed help. I just didn't know how to express it. So eventually it came to the point where my parents saw something in me and were like, you need to go get help. So, and then my parents helped me.
I had no idea that I had an eating disorder until I went to the doctor, and like she weighed me, and then it all just kind of like went downhill from there. But so yeah, it definitely wasn't me. I had absolutely no idea. It like didn't even cross my mind. So my mom was really the one to like take me to a therapist who directed me to another doctor, and so I definitely was not the one to diagnose myself.
I just like knew that the behaviors and like things that I was doing like they just weren't healthy, and like I knew I like, couldn't do that.
The thoughts that I had that alerted me that I needed help was, I just remember one time I sat down to eat dinner with my family, and there was a salad in front of me, and I couldn't even eat a bowl of lettuce without measuring it.
Probably my suicidal thoughts. I was diagnosed with also bipolar disorder, and that's like mood swings, and it's going through periods of depression, mania, anger. And I didn't know at the time that I was bipolar. I thought it was just a phase, and my parents saw it, that I was very unstable, and that's what really led them to me to get help.
Well, I think just like the idea of like realizing how unnatural it was for me to like think so much about food, body image, like self-worth in the eyes of like your body, like certain thoughts that I would have, like it was just all consuming. Like literally, I like can't stress that enough. It was like every single moment of my life I would be thinking about food, what I'm gonna eat next, counting calories, like all this stuff. And just I think the obsessiveness that like I didn't see in anybody else, and the power that the food had to like emotionally weigh me down, that's definitely not normal. And like I realize that now, but back then it was kind of weird how like it was kind of weird how I didn't really realize it until after the fact. So I guess that kind of.
I mean, I feel like everyone's gonna say like the media and like, but I think that doesn't have like the biggest role, but it definitely does have a role. I feel like that. I mean, when you're surrounded with like so much like dieting and like whatever, I think it definitely takes part.
I do think that outside influences definitely played a part in my eating disorder. I mean, like eating disorders they can be genetic, but I do think that the media definitely plays a big part in it, and it's kind of like, it's a big trigger. So by that, I mean like if there's just like a lot of diet ads and there's a lot of very thin girls in the media, which can be very, it just like stirs up the thoughts of like I need to act on urges and everything.
Yeah, the reason actually why my eating disorder I think was triggered was my bullying in middle school. I was bullied physically and like on cyberbullying, and it was really, really bad. It was about my weight and how big I was, and that I should kill myself and that I'm not worth anything. So that really played a big part in it. I mean, till this day, like the bullying stopped, but I mean there are still thoughts that that are there, they scar.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, our society is disordered, and they kind of support it, which is, like, stupid and screwed up, and also, I mean, like, emotional things, too, that led to it. Like, my little sister has special needs, so there was, like, an attention aspect there that I kind of, like, craved attention, so it fed into the eating issues because there's always underlying stuff, and but definitely just the idea that, like, if we eat a cookie, like, we've, like, slipped, or, like, we're weak if we eat a cookie, and it's, like, I've learned that it's the opposite. Like, if I eat a cookie, that means I'm strong, and I guess it's just, like, the idea in, like, society doesn't really, like, support alcoholism or support gambling addictions, but they do support dieting and, like, intensive, like, stuff like that, intensive exercise, stuff like that. So definitely society, and also like some family factors too.
I don't think there's any like specific like event that I can like pin it on, but I did have like a really bad experience with like a teacher and like a class, and I kind of feel like it like snowballed from there.
There's different parts of my eating disorder, but definitely a big part is control. And growing up, my parents haven't had the best marriage, and I was also sexually abused when I was 4 years old. So I think most of that, by being able to control my food, gave me a sense of like, if everything else in my life is out of control, that's the one thing that I can like be able to like handle, and like I just had complete control over everything.
Yeah, the bullying.
Okay, your same thing.
Same thing.
Maybe I'll put that in, that'd be funny.
Alright, okay. So I was saying, like, I think, like, my personality traits, I have a lot of obsessive compulsive traits, and whereas, like, I don't think that was what started the disorder. I think that it's definitely, like, what kept it going. Like, if I did something one day, I would, like, have to do it the next day, and, like, have to do it the next day, and then to another level and stuff like that. So that definitely, like, fed into the like growing of it, but I think that like what started it, there's a lot of like underlying issues, and I think just like a mixture of things. It was kind of like the perfect storm with, like I said before, like my little sister like getting attention. Like I like to get attention because we all like to get attention, and so I think that like I definitely craved that attention. I just like feelings of not being good enough, not being pretty enough, not being like thin enough. And also like the control aspect too of my personality. So I like really felt like I had control with my eating disorder, because it was finally something that like I could like mess with and work with and kind of like mold. So I think all of those things kind of like played into it, with of course the fact of like society being like so screwed up and like telling us that we needed to look a certain way or be a certain way, or just like my ideas of beautiful were just like really disordered. So
it's like affected everything. There's like clubs I like can't be in anymore, and I'm a Girl Scout too. And unfortunately I didn't get to do my gold award because there's just too much going on. And like I'm like here at like EDTC like 5 days a week, like literally, and then I have another appointment on Saturday. So it's just like taking over like everything.
Well, when I was like very in my eating disorder, like using behaviors and everything, it impacted a lot of different parts of my life. When I was younger, I used to be very, very outgoing. Like I was known as like the bubbly kid, and like I just had like a big personality. And in middle school, when I started mostly acting on behaviors, I just became very closed in, and I separated myself from the world. So it impacted my social life a great amount. With school, my grades started, slipping, and that impacted a lot of other things. But now that I'm actually in recovery and like I'm healthier and like my brain can actually work and I have energy and everything, like I go out and I socialize. I just feel like I'm actually living now and not just kind of like surviving.
I think as a whole, I think it's helped me a lot, but I also think it destroyed me, but not permanently. I think it just like, as of right now in recovery, I deal with a lot of triggers and urges and things like that, and that's what happens when you go through recovery. You're trying to get better and better yourself and to get healthy, and there's just a lot of things that like impact you positive, but I mean there are those negative effects where you get those urges and those things and you have to cope with them. And sometimes I do wish like maybe if I wasn't in recovery, like my life would be normal and everything would be fine. My parents wouldn't have to worry about me, and like I wouldn't be so shameful and guilty of myself. But then I realized, like, without recovering what I've gone through, I probably would not be here. So I'm always, to me, I think it's positive. I'm here, I'm living, and I didn't have to put my parents through my funeral.
Well, like I always say, the past couple of years have been like the hardest of my life, but also the best. And I think that it says a lot about like what the eating disorder has like done for me. And like what Sandra always says is that like the eating disorder like came into our lives, like it serves a purpose. Like so I definitely think that it served a purpose, and I think that I was able to learn a lot about myself and a lot about what I'm allowed to do, and I think that I got a much better understanding of like how to say things and how to express myself and how to ask for help from things, and just like an overall sense of like being able to like talk about my feelings. Because I don't think I was able to really do that before or express them in the right way, and now I definitely am able to do that. And also just like for me, a lot of it like revolves around the food of like what I've learned, because I feel like before the disorder, like I was starting on a completely like blank slate. Like I had no idea like what to do with food. Like you're never really like taught that. So like after going through treatment, I realized that like what to do with my food and like how to eat. Really, like I really had to like relearn how to eat because I didn't know. And so that, and I think that I've definitely gained obviously my health back, which has been like hard to comprehend at times, but also like so much better, because when you're in the depths of your disorder, like you have no energy, and like it's ironic because the whole thing is about like wanting to look beautiful, and you look gray and your teeth are green and your hair falls out and you're freezing, and it's not at all glamorous. So
definitely reach out. I mean, it'd probably be better to go to like a parent or an adult, but even friends is like a big step. And I think it's a big thing just recognizing that like you feel like you have a problem.
If you're close to your parents and you think that you have an eating disorder, I definitely recommend going to them, or at least like your closest friend. Sometimes a counselor at school, that can definitely help. But just like anyone that will listen. Like even if you go to a friend and like they're willing to talk to your parents, or what I did was when I was in 7th grade, I kind of just like told my mom that I needed to talk to someone because I was very stressed. And that's when I started seeing a therapist, and then I just laid everything out on the table for the therapist, and they talked to my mom about it.
I think, with my experience, I think you should go to your parents, but I've had met kids who their parents don't understand it. Like a lot of people don't understand eating disorders and what they are, and people think people have to look a certain way or act a certain way to have an eating disorder, and like not everyone understands that. I do think you should go to your parents. I think your parents are the first person you should go to, if not a friend or a family member or someone close to you or someone in the health profession field, and from there carry on.
It could save your life. So tell your parents and ask to see a therapist. And I mean, it depends, I guess, what type of disorder you have, how crucial it is, but like how crucial it is, but it always is, I think. Personally, I think crucial to have a nutritionist too. So I would say like first start with the parents and then bring it up to your doctors, and definitely find a therapist. And even if you don't, even if like you don't have an eating disorder, I honestly think that every single human being on earth should have a therapist.
I think like going out to eat and like you can tell they're like uncomfortable or they're like not, and not even just like not eating, just like being uncomfortable, like eating in front of like others. And I think that's like probably the biggest, and like even if you just notice like some like weight change or whatever.
Signs and symptoms to look out for would definitely be isolation. That's a big one. Isolation from really anything, but mostly going out to like eat and stuff, or where food can be involved in any way. Definitely like rejecting food, I guess, in a way, or just sticking to like the same foods like every single day. Or also for other eating disorders, if you find that you think that someone's like eating in private, then that could be a big one that can contribute to binge eating. Or if somebody has like a constant habit of getting up right after a meal and going to the bathroom or stuff like that. But also for like minor things, it would, like there's body checking where somebody just like feels like the constant need to like touch their legs or touch their stomach or their arms or anything. So that one's not as obvious, but it could definitely be a big one.
I think people should look out mainly if they like excuse themselves from like the dinner table after dinner, like right after they're done eating. What they're eating, if they're barely eating anything, that's a big one. And also if they're like becoming less social and they're isolating themselves, I think that's another big one.
Well, there's a bunch of different types of eating disorders, so sometimes like a lot of them, but obviously like restricting exercising for a lot of hours a day, obsessively, so like not being able to like go a day without exercising or something like that, going to the bathroom right after they eat for a while, for possibly like a purge or something like that, and I think that like taking a really long time to eat your food, cutting your food into like tiny bits, that's definitely a symptom. And I think that like physical things, obviously like weight loss or like I mentioned before, like grayness of the skin, like hair falling out, stuff like that, always being cold, and
definitely like my like recovery team, which is like my group of like doctors and like therapists or whatever. I like definitely couldn't get this far without them, and of course my family and like my friends.
I really did not start recovering until my mom spent months and months trying to find any like outpatient facility that treats eating disorders and specializes in it, because there's really nothing in New York. So when she found EDTC, Eating Disorder Treatment Collaborative, they definitely got me on the right track, and it did take a while, but it also has to do with the patient's mindset and if they're ready to recover or not. But they definitely got me going in the right direction, and then when they realized that I needed a higher level of care, I went to Veritas Collaborative in North Carolina, and that's a residential treatment center. And that place has just completely changed me. And now that I'm back with EDTC, they just keep me going. And my dietitian, Dana, she's like the best. She's just helped me in every way possible, and I seriously like can't thank her enough for everything that she's done.
I think here at the Eating Disorder Treatment Collaborative, I think that's what I feed, here mostly because when I got out of treatment, I stayed at a hospital for a month, and I got treatment there, but after the hospital we didn't know where to go, or I wasn't getting any more treatment, and I needed more treatment. So when we came here, they really worked on me, and I've talked to them a lot, and they've really helped me through a lot of my problems, because without them I probably would have relapsed in my eating disorder, and that would have not been good. So mostly
Process.
I like that question. My nutritionist Dana has helped me so much in my recovery process in so many more ways than like a professional, I think, usually does. I'm like so grateful for her. So I would definitely say Dana is really high up there, if not my like number one best support, I think. And also over this past summer, I spent the summer at a partial hospitalization program in the city called Montanito, and I was so resentful of going in the beginning, like ridiculous. But like once I got there, I really, really do think that they helped me, and I'm very, very grateful that I ended up going.
Yeah, just definitely reach out and like talk about it, because the more you like ignore it and the more you like suppress it, the worse it gets.
The one thing that I would really say is that it's not something to be ashamed of. And there's definitely help out there, and that it's possible. I eat ice cream every single day now. I have chocolate every day. Like, these were things that I literally told myself that I would never allow myself to eat again, and I would never be allowed to eat them. And as hopeless as I felt, and like as bad as my rock bottom was, I never thought I would get to where I am today. And I know that there's still like such a far way to go in my journey, but I didn't think I could get to where I am now. So I'm just very, very excited to see what the future holds, and for anyone that's struggling, it is possible to get help and to recover.
I think that no matter who you are, boy, girl, black, white, sexuality eating disorders are not looked at through the typical girl. It's through guys, girls, anybody, and it should be taken seriously no matter how you look. And you just need to fight and stay strong, and you need to ask for help, because this disease will kill you. You need to ask for help, and you need to accept the help that you get.
Yes. Eating disorders suck. They're so bad. You don't want one. Honestly, like, I like don't even know how to put this, but just like love yourself. Like, honestly, nobody cares what you look like. And it sounds so stupid, but nobody cares like you do. And you cannot let something as stupid as your body image and like what you look like bring you down so much as to like ruin relationships and ruin like your attitude towards things and ruin opportunities and jobs, and it's just so not worth it. And there's just so much more to life than food and your body, and cookies are really good, and ice cream is so good, and pizza is so good, and you deserve it more than anything in the world. And honestly, like, you really don't need the ideal body to be happy. And some of us, like, I have to accept that I'm not going to be this like perfect model body face. I'm never going to be like that. So and I'm sure that a lot of other people, a lot of you might struggle with that too. And we just sort of realize that like we have to accept ourselves for who we are, because one day we're going to be laying on our deathbeds and we're going to wish that we ate that extra piece of cake instead of skipping it because we wanted to look thin. And so yeah, just love yourself for who you are and your body for what it is, because you only get one, and you only get one life, YOLO. So enjoy it and do the right thing and don't die and eat cake.